the Buddha's teaching, knowing contentment as the key to inner peace and happiness. Do you believe there are people who, only at their final breath, realize they have ever lived in this human world? When we have a little, we want more. When we have more, we want even more. Yet when we lose everything, we suddenly realize that we'd be happy just to have a bit. Only a bit would be enough. It is only when we reach a certain point that knowing contentment becomes one of the important keys to open the door to the realm of peace. Life is not a race, but a journey for us to gradually explore the meaning of existence. The crucial thing is not the reward we receive when reaching the finish line, but what we sense on each step along the way. Therefore, we need to be aware of truly living in each breath. If we cannot do this, we are not really living, merely existing. Everyone knows one simple truth: we arrive in this world and leave it with empty hands. So why must we try to possess everything for ourselves, those things which were never truly ours? Life is as foggy as the world itself, though myriad paths converge on the one route we travel. In wisdom, there is compassion, and in compassion there must be wise guidance, adapting to conditions, sailing through every tide. Understanding deeply, we live in true empathy. All suffering and happiness arise from the mind and also perish from the mind. Thus, as our mind is, so will our perception of our own life be. Destiny is born from the inner mind. Choosing one path means we are deciding our own fate. We shouldn't be too concerned with the past. Let us live fully in the present and look toward the future. If we do so, tomorrow our life will surely be brighter. There are times when, facing the devastation of impermanence, a person seems on the verge of collapse. But if we fully absorb the philosophy of dependent arising, we will realize how we have long enjoyed so many offerings from the universe. If the universe reclaims a little to share with others, it's simply the natural way. There is nothing bitter about it. If something forms, it must eventually break. If people come together, they will at some time part. Yet most people never want failure. People suffer because they desire constancy, though the nature of life is impermanence. On the other hand, some people disregard others' suffering for their own benefit or pleasure. Hence, within the gain and joy of one person, there is often the loss and sorrow of another. But why even dwell on this? That is the nature of the world. Knowing how to let go and actually letting go brings peace of mind. Most of human suffering originates from greed, anger, and delusion. Therefore, to live happily, we should relinquish some of our own desires and accept imperfection as a necessary part of being human. A human life comes naked and leaves naked. We eat no more than 3 meals a day. We need no more than 1 room to sleep in. So why harbor such enormous cravings when they only make us feel unfulfilled? Excessive desire is the root of all suffering in life. If people wish to reduce afflictions, the first thing is to learn how to let go. But understand that letting go means letting go of craving, not discarding responsibilities and obligations. Sometimes when people are overly critical, they become troubled by trivial matters around them. Living a bit more casually can bring happiness and joy. Why? Because those who are overly critical are often too serious, no matter how big or small the issue. They treat it as something major and overthink it, leading to exhaustion. Their life is constantly dominated by petty incidents, consuming all their time and leaving little space for a sense of ease or peace. Meanwhile, people who live more casually don't fret as much over everything. Perhaps this makes their lives simpler and a bit careless. Yet, precisely because of that, they find the genuine flavor of a peaceful life. As human beings, let us be simpler. At work, let us be practical so that the days flow by gently, simply, with understanding and freedom. Everyone in life will encounter unsatisfactory situations. At those times, we must practice patience. From ancient times, those who achieved great feats were those with great tolerance, and those with great tolerance must also have a magnanimous spirit. Patience is not running away or hiding, it is a form of energy accumulation. One who knows patience seldom makes mistakes prompted by a sudden impulse. Kindness, benevolence, is the most beautiful moral virtue of humankind. In a similar vein, meditation may not allow someone to achieve everything they desire, but it helps maintain a stable and joyful inner being. Cheerfulness is the secret to long life and a youthful spirit. People do not stop playing because they grow old. Rather, by continuing to enjoy life, they do not grow old inside. A smile is a wonderful kind of cosmetic, creating one's beauty. It is also the simplest, quickest way to connect people with one another. Why is it that after middle age, some people's faces appear bright and blessed, while others look grim and filled with resentment? Because one's appearance arises from the mind. One's visage changes according to the heart. When the mind is beautiful, the appearance will be too. A heart full of love will make every action radiate kindness. A mind brimming with calculations and comparisons will at any moment find itself vexed. Someone who knows tolerance always has a generous heart. These people don't fuss, they're not elated by small gains, and they don't rejoice wildly over trivial successes. People who remain calculating and critical in life often find it exhausting. The ancients said, "Step back once and the seas and skies open wide." Sometimes stepping back is actually stepping forward. By stepping back or yielding a little, we gain more friends. If advancing causes us to lose ourselves, then we should stop. If we must take a step back to truly understand ourselves, then by all means, step back, whether a few steps or many. The values of life are there for us to grow toward, yet they are all relative. Success in the future, as defined by society or humanity, so often traps our present existence behind bars. What does it mean to chase illusions to the point that we forget to live fully in the present? Know what is white, know what is black. Do not seek white in black, nor black in white. Realize clearly both black and white, then life will always be peaceful. Quite often, human suffering stems from the fear of losing something, losing someone, losing anything that has become familiar. When they truly lose it, they become shaken. Their reason for living collapses. They sink into distress and find it impossible to accept the truth. In reality, no one can lose something they do not fear losing. If something genuinely belongs to you, it will stay. If it does not, however much you cling, it will still depart. Once we recognize that the things we are desperately holding on to are already predestined, and thus gradually reduce our pursuit and dependence on them, we become freer and happier. Keep on loving wholeheartedly when you can, but do not let your own happiness depend too heavily on any particular person. You become angry because your heart is not yet broad enough. You become worried because your mind is not yet generous enough. You fret because your intellect is not yet clear enough. You suffer because your willpower is not yet strong. You hesitate because your conviction is not yet firm. You feel envy because you have not yet refined yourself. Every affliction arises from within. Whenever these afflictions appear, it is an opportunity to turn inward, observe our minds, acknowledge our shortcomings, and strive to transform them. Anyone who has a human body possesses a certain measure of blessing, like a bright moon within, corresponding to one's merit. If we cherish and cultivate that merit, it will increase. But if we create unwholesome karma, we become like the moon after the full moon, waning into darkness, a regrettable decline. By nurturing, treasuring, and polishing our inherent inner moon, we are like the waxing moon from day one to full moon, ever more radiant. Is that not wonderful? Being human can seem easy, but is not necessarily so, particularly if we wish to touch the hearts of thousands or control the words of the masses. It's certainly not simple. And yet, to be human is not too hard either. All we need is to keep a kind heart, be a gentle soul, and follow our own path. So when storms of life come, just remind yourself that after the storm passes, the sun will naturally shine again. There's no need to waste effort lamenting in front of others, because even if you speak, they might not care. Some things, once we put them down, feel lighter. Some people, when recalled, bring us happiness. Some pains, once understood, make us stronger. Overthinking a problem keeps us stuck in loops. Indeed, no matter how simple something is, if overthought, it becomes complicated. All we need is a calm disposition, an open heart, and everything that comes our way will seem simpler and easier to overcome. Life goes by very quickly. If we can move past illusory fame and gain, we can discover what is real and precious. When troubles arise, handle them lightly. Release needless burdens so the heart is free to move forward. Yielding the road for another can help avoid clashes. Looking far ahead, we see a rainbow after the rain. Traveling light makes our journey more leisurely. Along endless roads, the loveliest scenery depends not on our eyes, but on the feeling in our heart. The profoundest sentiments need no words but reveal themselves through actions. Whenever we find things unsatisfactory, remember the way water behaves, gentle and quiet, silently embracing and transforming everything without contention or discrimination. If each person could cultivate to that level, we would not worry about a world lacking peace, nor hearts lacking harmony. If we see the good in everyone and the meaning in everything, life becomes joyful and the world a beautiful place. But if we greet life with a troubled mind, everything becomes a karmic hindrance and the world seems ugly. Regrettably, many people wish to be more beautiful, yet the best method for true beauty is simply to keep a pure mind and a cheerful spirit. Such beauty lightens the hearts of those around us, without any anger within. Indeed, whatever we receive in life is a result of what we have done before. Whatever we do now will shape the future. Life continues on in that way. If we understand this, we will avoid excessive negative thoughts and not blame the heavens or resent other people when confronted with adversity. Blessings come from diligence and contentment. Be compassionate, help those in need, live with a grateful heart in repaying kindness, and respect all people and things. By believing in cause and effect, we avoid regrettable actions. Always honor others, practicing tolerance and gratitude, just like the vast ocean that accepts 100 rivers into itself, growing ever more expansive. In this life, there are two things we cannot avoid. One is to move forward, the other is to stop. Are you using a positive attitude to do these two things? A positive attitude is your best companion on the road, helping you stay happy and healthy. For anyone, near or far, if we have a connection, we should know how to nurture good relationships. Because if you never burn incense on ordinary days and only rush to the Buddha's feet in times of crisis, it's pointless. Thus, we must accumulate goodwill like depositing into a bank account. The more you put in and the longer it remains, the greater the benefits. When something happens, don't get hot-headed or jump to conclusions. When you are angry, try placing yourself in different perspectives so that big problems become smaller and small ones vanish. Complex issues should be addressed in the simplest, calmest way possible. Never turn simple matters into chaotic ones. We need the mindfulness of knowing sufficiency. Most of life's sadness and troubles begin from boundless comparisons. Indeed, there are those below us and there are those above us. If you complain about not having beautiful shoes, remember that there are people without feet to wear any shoes at all. If an opponent makes you angry, it means you have not risen above them. Turning back to look at who is cursing you is unnecessary. Like being bitten by a mad dog, would you bite it back to quell your anger? So don't pay too much attention to malicious words from others. Don't regard work as a burden. Instead of complaining or being irritated, face it with joy and positivity. View work as life itself, as an art, and you will feel the happiness it brings. Living one more day is one more precious minute. We have only a few decades in this world. Do not do things that will leave you in deep regret. The sun rises in the East Sea and sets behind the Western Mountains. Time passes whether you're sad or happy. If you don't fret about trivial matters, life will be peaceful and your spirit will be at ease. We come to this world fundamentally for two great events, birth and death. One event is already completed, only one remains, so there is no rush. Whatever is destined to come will come, and after coming it will vanish. There is no need to anxiously wait or beg for it. People with wisdom do not live according to the world's gossip, nor do they fear society's gaze. They only need to understand themselves, observe their own strengths and weaknesses, and gradually correct them. That too is a way of cultivation. The greatest loneliness for a person is having no spiritual refuge, not knowing where one should aim, whether one admits it or not. But if the heart contains only goodness, nothing can distress you. If your heart is genuinely kind, you will not resent anyone. If your way of life is truly simple, no amount of chaos in this world can affect you. Those who do good have healthy bodies, peaceful minds, and sleep well. Doing good is known by heaven and earth and admired by spirits and deities. Where there is no suspicion, the world does not feel so cold. Without discrimination, there is no distance. Without resentment, the sky stays warm. Without conflict, the four seas remain peaceful. True tranquility is not sitting for hours without moving, but maintaining a calm and steady attitude, observing all things, even hearing the sound of plants growing, residing in a lasting and unwavering stability in the heart. We cannot find that by seeking outwardly. People spend their entire life striving and worrying. In the end, no one can take a single blade of grass or leaf with them when they go. A whole lifetime of hoarding cannot be carried away, not even the slightest illusion. Once birth and reputation arise, regardless of wealth or poverty, once your journey ends, you still must bid a final farewell. Life is truly short. How many have promised to live a full 100 years, yet turned around only to become the departed? Some parted from you just a moment ago, and in a blink are forever separated by life and death. Therefore, while you still can, do not cause bitter regret. Do not overthink, do not dwell excessively, do not hope beyond reason. Being human, having a bit less money is fine, but do not let your spirit become impoverished. Never let your vision be limited just because you lack money. Even if you cannot reach some glorious status, at least be a person of value. Regarding outward appearance, it might not be striking, but don't let your inner self be ugly. Human kindness and virtue are not dependent on appearance, they come from within the soul. You might be physically small, but do not let your heart become narrow. Nobody likes someone with a small, cramped heart. You can have slight shoulders and a slender back, but a kind and humble heart still brings warmth to countless others. You can be physically weak, but do not be weak in spirit. The timid often become pessimistic and self-doubting. You must cultivate courage, having your own views and confidence. You might be slow of hand and foot, but do not let your mind be clouded. Always remind yourself to keep a clear mind and a far-sighted perspective. A bit stubborn is all right, but don't be so headstrong that you turn into a demon. If not you, then who goes to hell? You can be somewhat clever, but don't assume you are outstanding. Everyone else would appear foolish, and you alone would be a real fool. You can be a bit lazy, but never be lazy all day long. When there is work to do, see it through. Keep a spirit of contribution. Otherwise, you become a burden to society. You can be frugal, but do not let money dominate every thought. Otherwise, you develop the habit of measuring everyone by their wealth and sooner or later become its slave. You can be tolerant, but don't let others exploit your tolerance and keep repeating their wrongdoing. Whatever the situation, keep your own principles and self-respect. You can endure some hardship, but do not allow suffering to go on indefinitely without a way out. Learn how to rise above it. Some events, once they happen, can only be received. Some people, once lost, can only be released. Some roads once chosen must be walked to the end. Many good things come from patient waiting, not from fighting. Therefore, learn tolerance so as not to miss your chance at happiness. Cherish whatever arises in life, big or small, because tomorrow, looking back, you may realize they were indeed quite significant. Often, only when something becomes a memory do we grasp its hidden worth. If there is truly a karmic bond, time and distance will not be an issue. If there is no karmic bond, meeting even once may lead each in a different direction. Possibly a person must travel many roads, experience both affluence and hardship before maturing. Only after seeing someone fully, yet remaining silent, do we learn the meaning of forgiveness. Not liking someone yet not confronting them reveals the pinnacle of respect. One's maturity is not from living long or traveling widely, but from knowing when to let go, when to be lenient, and how to reduce needless conflict. Everyone carries some sorrow in their heart. It's not that the pain has faded, but that we realize complaining won't solve anything. It only weakens us further. Thus, we choose to remain silent. Maturity is being able to smile throughout the process of transforming suffering into happiness. No matter how difficult life is, we should face it courageously. We should not hide or curse it. In life, not everything that goes our way is truly best for us. The sun will still rise tomorrow, no matter how unhappy we are. The moon will still fade at dawn, regardless of our resentment. Closing our eyes doesn't make the world dark. Shining a light only for ourselves doesn't guarantee we hold all brightness. In the world, there may be axes and saws too dull, but no tree that cannot be cut down. There may be problems for which we haven't found perfect solutions, but none that are absolutely unsolvable. If there is will, we find a way. If not, we find excuses. Life is like a glass of water, hot or cold. Once it's at a comfortable temperature, it's drinkable. The taste may be sweet or bitter, but if it suits our palate, it's good. Some things may take a long or short time, but as long as they resonate with our sense of fulfillment, they are pleasing. The 4 seasons rotate: spring, summer, autumn, winter. Whichever season you appreciate can be delightful. Life is not a battlefield. There's no need to declare victory or defeat among people. With more empathy, misunderstandings decrease. Between tasks, if we learn to yield, disputes subside. Some things we must endure, some people we must give way to. We don't have to compete for the highest rung. We don't have to beg everyone's approval and understanding, because each person has their own perspective and personality. Usually we think too highly of ourselves, so we fret about losing face and lament when others misunderstand us. But being human requires a bit of self-effacement. Putting ourselves in others' shoes makes life much more endearing. Hence, open your heart and joy grows. Broaden your tolerance and you will receive more. Don't discuss others behind their backs, nor pay too much heed to gossip about yourself. Because a worthless person is not worth mentioning, yet an outstanding person draws attention and commentary. In life, admitting fault demonstrates honesty. Forgiving reveals grace. If you extend your sincerity, but do not receive grace in return, no matter if the other side is shallow or worldly, you can still practice tolerance for all unpleasant realities. Concern yourself with duty, not personal gain. That is when you stand upon the highest spiritual ground. If you face forward with hope, look down with compassion, and treat those above you with gratitude, you stand at the pinnacle of your soul. We not only need far-sightedness, clarity, but also thorough understanding. Seeing far helps us gain the bigger picture. Seeing deeply helps us realize the world is always busy with people coming for fame or profit, then leaving. Seeing thoroughly does not mean we have no more aspirations, but that our mind remains calm and composed. The most frightening aging is not the changing of our outward appearance, but the loss of our will to move forward. One cannot always change physical form, but one can transform one's inner character. When character changes, life transforms accordingly, especially in relationships. Remember that kindness, enthusiasm, and sincerity often bring good outcomes. A friendly smile is more welcoming than mere politeness, offering warmth to the people we meet every day. Everything arises from certain causes and conditions between people. If you regard someone as a bodhisattva, they will be as benevolent as a saint. If you see them as a demon, they will appear fearsome. Like looking in a mirror, if you smile, the reflection is bright. If you frown, the reflection is sorrowful. Between friends, the same rule applies. Treat them with respect, and they respond politely. Look down on them or shout at them, and you meet their frustration and disdain. Thus, in daily life, treat friends sincerely, treat family with affection, treat loved ones with tolerance, and forgive your enemies. If we always hold a kind thought when dealing with people, eventually they will feel it and respond accordingly. Gradually, much good will accumulate and the quality of life will improve. Appearance arises from the mind, circumstances follow the mind's shifts. Genuine kindness, when large enough, shows on our face, then spreads outward, leading to favorable results. Human beings are both very simple and very fearsome. A single kind heart can embrace everything. A single vicious heart can harm countless people. If someone is overly cunning, others avoid them. If we do things too harshly, we invite resentment. Always demanding victory, insisting on taking every bit of advantage, eventually we lose people's goodwill and we become despicable ourselves. Therefore, when confronted with money or benefits, it is better to relax a little, so as not to lose harmony. In controversies, relax a little so your conscience remains clear. When vying for profit, relax so your mind is not overburdened. Hearing gossip or slander, relax so it does not disturb you. Nobody is perfect, and each person has a different approach, style, or personality. Some may admire you, some may be jealous, and some may not accept you. But in truth, everyone hopes to overcome difficulties. A person with real wisdom does not lead a life too cunning or trapped in daily scheming. They know how to relax, keep their kindness, and stay clear of never-ending battles. Life is short. Learning to be content and satisfied is the way to be enlightened. Life is complicated. Learning to take it easy is the way to feel free. Live with inner peace. The mind is born as we choose our path. That is, we are determining our fate. We shouldn't worry too much about the past. Let's live fully in the present and aim for the future. Doing so will ensure a better tomorrow. When criticized by others, feeling upset for a moment is fine, but don't become angry or reactive. Treat others' criticism as a chance to self-reflect and adjust what needs correcting. When praised, a brief joy is understandable, but don't rush to believe it as truth. Most compliments are intended to please. Therefore, don't let praise feed your pride and arrogance. If life is truly painful, there is no time left to complain. If life is too boring, there is no energy left to resent. If it's really the end of the line, how could we still have the mindset to lament or sob? Anywhere, at any time, remember that we live for ourselves. Whatever we do, if it causes no shame in our conscience and we fulfill our responsibility, then all is well. Even if we are talented or prepared, unwanted things will still happen according to nature's law. Where there is success, there will be failure. Where there is union, there will be separation. Yet most people never want failure. People's suffering arises because they want everything to remain forever, while the essence of life is change. Sometimes, facing impermanence's destruction, a person may nearly collapse. But through truly absorbing the philosophy of dependent arising, we realize we have so long enjoyed the universe's vast offerings. The universe reclaims some to share with others that's simply natural, and there's no bitterness in that. Meanwhile, some people ignore others' suffering for their own advantage or pleasure. So within one person's gains or delights are hidden another's losses or sorrow. But why bother dwelling on the negative side of society if that's just how life is? Learning to let go and actually letting go brings peace of mind. All sorrow or joy truly originates from the mind and also dissolves within the mind. Therefore, how our mind is will determine our personal experience of life. Every day, we face numerous displeasing events and challenges that exceed our control. We cannot always prevent these. It's better to learn how to adapt to them and accept them joyfully. Cultivate patience, tolerance, and generosity. Try to view yourself and others with a gentler and kinder eye. Don't worry too much about failure. Let the past be the past, so that you can focus fully on the present moment. There is no need to recall unhappy memories and bury yourself in them. A person with a big heart does not view hardship as anything significant to them. Such a person does not lament their fate, blame the world, or resent others. They maintain a calm, untroubled mind and persist in studying, working, and making efforts to improve circumstances. When hardships arise, some cower or fall, while others bravely continue. Every hardship on life's path is a precious chance to develop mental resilience, calmness, and readiness for greater achievements ahead. The path of life and the path of spiritual cultivation share a key similarity. Both require patience, forbearance, and ceaseless effort. If someone practices the spiritual life but lazily yearns for trivial comfort and fleeting pleasures lost in worldly gain and superficial delight, they do not strive for diligence or overcome their own unwholesome tendencies. That type of practice is like trying to cook sand and expecting it to become rice. As it is said, all is created by the mind. With each passing year, let us not measure whether our lives remain stuck in place, but examine whether our minds have changed and elevated. Those who see life as a battlefield will constantly face conflict. Those who see life as a journey will continually enjoy the scenery. Those who see life as drifting clouds, ever changing in shape, will remain composed amidst all that changes. Life is precisely that way. There seems no absolute right or wrong, just acceptance. Happiness, favorable conditions, or suffering and dead ends all depend on our attitude when encountering life's many storms. Sometimes defeat is needed to learn the value of modesty and patience. Sometimes success is needed to learn the value of bravery and faith. Sometimes meeting many people is needed to learn the value of genuine friendship. Sometimes facing countless challenges is needed to learn the value of understanding and generosity. Clinging to fame teaches the value of letting go and seeing lightly. Collisions teach us the value of harmony. Things we find harsh teach us the value of self-cultivation. Worldliness teaches the value of tranquility and simplicity. Facing deception shows the value of sincerity. Knowing how to forget sadness and detach from the places and people who demean us is how we truly live. As long as there is still a tomorrow, today can forever be the perfect new beginning to aim for truth, goodness, and beauty. When one flower of the heart blooms, the cosmos is but a long dream, needing only joined palms, letting grass and blossoms share in life and death, releasing the ultimate melody of truth. A common inner pain that humans suffer is expecting absolutes in how others should behave toward us. Once we accept that others' actions are only relative, happiness is within arm's reach, ready to be enjoyed in the present moment. Accepting relativity expands our generosity, our trust in people and in life, reducing dissatisfaction and disappointment. Indeed, the basis of life is relative interdependence between you and others, between this and that, between one world and another, between this life and future ones. No one can live without dying, and nothing perishes without returning in some form or another. Because living is interdependence, life is relativity. Therefore, no one is completely independent, and no one is absolutely perfect. If you calm your prejudices and really look at those you detest, you will discover something interesting. They still have endearing qualities. Thus, what you find so detestable is actually only relatively so. Similarly, if you observe those you love most, you will see that they too have flaws and are far from perfect. So the lovable traits you admire are also just relatively so. Knowing there is nothing absolutely perfect, we stop hating people so intensely. Knowing there is nothing absolutely perfect, we also stop being deluded by our blind love and letting it turn into extreme actions. When in love, they can do no wrong. In short, by seeing reality objectively, we feel more at ease whether meeting likable or unlikable people. People often lock themselves in the prison of love and hate, expecting absolutes in a world they themselves have constructed. We are not absolute, yet we want everything around us to be absolute. That is why we suffer. Once awakened to this, remember, who can help us live happier, think more positively, and act more objectively? Only one person, ourselves. If we remember that nothing in life is wholly absolute, we can live more smoothly and comfortably in every interaction. Happiness grows only when we transform our inner perspective and open our hearts. Occasionally, let us contemplate death and the fragility of human life as though we have just survived a life or death situation. Such reflections can empower us to break free from worldly illusions. If we had only one day left, would we still compete and hustle for worldly gains? Would we remain sluggish or lazy? Would we remain indifferent or scheming toward others? Would we still be absorbed in meaningless pleasures? Would we still hold grudges or do evil things? Would we still speak or act in ways that hurt others? Or would we just want a peaceful morning, sitting at home, eating a simple meal with our family, gazing at the eyes of our small children, looking deeply into the loving sacrifices of our parents, speaking words that bring joy to our loved ones? When facing death, the heart reveals sincerity, warmth, and compassion. When we truly realize time is limited, winning or losing, success or failure, wealth or vengeance fade in importance. They all become meaningless. If we no longer have time for many choices, we choose the most valuable. Then we choose to think loving, benevolent thoughts. We choose to live with sincerity and kindness. We choose meaningful acts, gentle words, soft gazes toward life. We choose warm hands to hold someone else's and gentle footsteps so as not to harm the path we tread. We choose calm, steady breathing to hear life's subtle music. We know these things, yet we remain unable to control ourselves, letting unwholesome impulses, illusions of gain or loss pull us away. Whenever we feel that way, let us remember, the way to love everything in this harsh life is to realize that eventually all of it will disappear. Indeed, all will vanish. Each morning, awaken as if today were your last day on earth. That thought will urge us to see life with loving eyes, live with gratitude, and give our best effort, because we cannot be sure we will have another chance to say thank you, to say I'm sorry, or do what we truly want to do. If we wake up tomorrow still seeing the sun, let us remember to thank life with our whole heart. Whenever our mind harbors a desire, we think fulfilling that desire will surely bring us joy. Yet once it becomes reality, our hearts often feel empty. Why is that? Such is the nature of desire. Once we obtain what we have long dreamed of, we no longer face resistance, and like water passing through our fingers, it quickly slips away. Therefore, life has no absolute certainty, does it? Exactly so. Let us let go of worldly illusions, let go of our obsession with life and death, because fear does not bring any benefit. Why be afraid of the disappearance of this lifespan? Deny its existence and then search for the hidden self within. Countless people in this world endure the suffering of poverty. Their lives are tough, lacking food and clothing, facing all kinds of injustice. Others suffer mentally. When you want to jump into a deep abyss, why don't you notice the beautiful scene right before your eyes? Everything in excess, even happiness, ultimately leads to pain. Hence, we must uphold the middle way. Then you will see the nature of everything clearly and attain boundless tranquility, like a spider spinning thread to weave a stunning web. This natural world has fashioned all beings, and its beauty is infinite. For thousands of years, we have been used to focusing on others' sins, wanting scriptures and scholars to help them cleanse their wrongdoing, like rituals and offerings. But we assert that the cause of all sins lies within ourselves. Only we can open the door of liberation. Suppose someone wishes to cross a river, what must they do? I suppose if the river is shallow, they can wade across. If it's deep, they must row a boat or swim. If they choose not to row or swim, then what? They could only pray to the deities. But if they pray, would the opposite bank appear under their feet? Such a person we would call foolish. Likewise, if someone possesses wisdom, kindness, desire, and ignorance, how could they not discover truth and the path? If they only pray, worship, or make offerings, they remain forever at the starting line, never stepping beyond it. Earth is our foundation. The sky grants us free space. Our bodies exist within it. What is called the supreme truth? It can only be experienced firsthand by knowing oneself, seeing that there is no thought, no craving. Only by feeling and maintaining balance can we realize these truths. Then we no longer perceive external existence as separate. Any difference in weather, trees shedding leaves, why does it seem bleak? We can feel all these things, can we not? Certainly. Wisdom is present everywhere, the sun, the moon, the stars, the Milky Way. This supreme truth can be possessed by anyone who reaches enlightenment. Today, we have undergone an extremely arduous trial. Desires, anger, illusions, greed, hunger, everything appears before us, yet our hearts remain unmoved. We once vowed that even if we sacrificed our lives, we would still strive for the supreme truth. Finally, we attained that ultimate truth. Please teach me the path to reach these wholesome dharmas. Indeed, the world is woven into a single whole, like an invisible thread beyond our vision. If you do good, like waves repeatedly crashing ashore day after day, your merit will accompany you from this life to the next until enlightenment. Conversely, if you commit wrongdoing over many lives, you will receive the fruits of suffering, forming the cause of downfall. If you remain steadfast, mindful each moment, keeping calm, you will find the middle way in your own mind beyond sorrow and joy, beyond the binding flow of karma. Eventually, you attain the supreme truth. Please allow me enlightenment. I want to meet the Buddha. He is my eternal refuge. My final hope, O Buddha, please bring my son back to life. My son is gone. Please, Buddha, bring him back so my suffering may end. I beg you, return my child to me. You can have your child live again, but you must do something. Go into the city and ask for a mustard seed from any home. Yes, I will go at once. I will go. But remember, that home must be one where no one has ever died. Ma'am, I have that seed. But pray tell, has anyone in your house ever died? What are you talking about? Of course, my parents died half a year ago. I'm sorry, I cannot take the seed from your home. All things in life have birth and death, that is the natural law. Whether old or young, wise or foolish, everyone must die. If previously I had told you this truth, would you have believed me? The moon hanging in the sky is like this supreme truth. Each night the moon rises and grows until full. Then once it's full, it wanes and disappears only to begin again. Yet it is never lost. It merely goes beyond our sight. Your child has not disappeared. He only lives on in your heart. Indeed, if you calm your mind, you will understand. The essence of life is like our own shadow. Pain follows us throughout life, but its cause is our clinging to external forms. Once we see that nothing can last forever, how do we free ourselves? The key to liberation is transforming our mind. Whether sorrow overwhelms us or joy enters, we remain steady between these two extremes. By so practicing, the chains of suffering naturally loosen. By comprehending this ultimate truth, letting wisdom expand, we'll see that life and death, meeting and parting, are not truly two but one. If someone rigidly adheres to a principle at all times, they eventually lose the freedom of their spirit, becoming inflexible. If they blindly cling to preconceived opinions, believing only their own faith is truth, while rejecting all others, then mental freedom does not exist, only a singular biased view dominating one's mind, bringing conflict and opposition, thus blind belief arises. Having no faith can be even more restrictive. Thought is a power, it can completely dominate you. A mind bound by strong attachments is the biggest obstacle on the spiritual path. Tied up in them, the door to truth will never open. If everyone followed your teachings, would they still be bound? What I teach is based on my own realization. My path is not a rigid principle, nor a scripture or philosophy. It is pure experience, which is also the supreme truth of impermanence. But if someone treats your path like a fixed doctrine, then what? My path is for practice, not for dependence or worship. If a person only worships but doesn't truly practice, then all of my teachings are like a raft. A raft can help you cross the river, but after reaching the other shore, should you carry it around on your head? The sense of emotional attachment still troubles me. Emotions manifest in three ways: delight, sorrow, and silence. These three states abide in our body and mind. Emotions arise like waves and then return to stillness. I suggest first observing their intensity, understanding and identifying their source, whether happiness or sadness. Once we trace them back, we find they come from emptiness. The emptiness we speak of is like the vast sky, seemingly nothing yet encompassing everything, akin to a grand mind. Keep practicing this, and you'll see the waves that once disturbed you gradually settle. An ultimate serenity will emerge in the depths of your heart, unaffected by agitation. By looking inward, you will discover where error arises. The most unshakable thing is also the most pliable. Ignorance is the root of all affliction. Our vision is refined through meditation. Meditation can dispel ignorance. Outside of meditation, offerings, self-mortification, fasting, or sacrifices cannot achieve such results.